Hello, hello, citizens of the world. Welcome, welcome to Shaba Speaks. Today's show is very special and dear to my heart. I would like to welcome my dear friend, Mr. Raymond Aaron, and I'm going to just give him a little introduction here. As Mr. Raymond is the New York Times best-selling author, professional speaker, adventurer, realtor, and intensely into passion, which is actually my favorite part of all the biography. The passion part is just amazing. So, Mr. Raymond, welcome to Shaba Speaks.
I'm honored to be a guest.
Very honored to have you here. It's a pleasure. Would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your journey?
Yes, my name is Raymond Aaron. I am a New York Times top 10 best-selling author. I have written and had published 143 books, and I am a seminar leader, professional speaker for 37 years. I run 40 businesses, brands, and websites. I'm an athlete.
Wow.
And the biggest thing about me is that I only do what's absolutely fun in my life. And my wife is beaming away. And she said he's a great husband.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So I'm super interested in this fun part of your journey as an entrepreneur, because a lot of entrepreneurs think that being an entrepreneur, they all have to be business-like and, you know, just money, and business, where really I like your outlook on the fun part and the passion part. How do you create this, bring in this passion, this fun into the business you are, or the businesses you have been running, and how much impact did it have on you?
Well, first of all, I don't bring fun into the business. I only start those businesses that would be wildly fun for me to do.
Okay.
So they automatically are fun. And then in any business, there's thousands of things that have to get done. And I do only those things that are fun for me to do. And everything else I delegate. And it's not that I get rid of the bad jobs. No, there are certain jobs that are wonderful and important, like bookkeeping, accounting, tax, marketing. There's all kinds of things that are important. They're just not what I love doing. And so I start businesses in which I absolutely love running that business. And then I delegate any tiny little part of it that isn't fun for me, but is fun for those people. Like people who like an accountant loves numbers and loves taxes and loves calculating things and loves issuing reports. I don't love it. So I don't think of it as a bad job. I think it is a job that he loves doing, and I'm glad he does it. And he's glad that I'm on stage because he doesn't want to be on stage. So we do what we love, and it absolutely works. And the funny thing is, the broker that people are, the more they think that life is drudgery and that you must do all kinds of things, whether you love them or not. And that's why they're broke. There's not a single successful person who dislikes what he does. Warren Buffett loves studying and investing in stocks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bill Clinton loved entertaining the masses by giving dazzling speeches. He was a brilliant orator, and so was Barack Obama.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everyone I can think of, Sir Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, they absolutely loved what they do. And who are the broke people? The broke people are people who don't do what they love.
So this is really an interesting topic of do your passion, follow your heart, do what you love. And you touched really here to a very good point, because people sometimes don't know what is it that they love. So what was your thinking process in really discovery, like the discovery process of what Raymond is passionate about and what Raymond loves to do? What was that process like?
That's a good question. No one's ever asked that before. Well, it was obvious that I love mathematics because I got 90s right from elementary school. And so I went to university and studied maths and physics. And then I took a salary job that needed maths, physics, and computers. And so I was paid extraordinarily well.
Mm-hmm.
And for 20 years after graduation, from roughly age 19 to age 39, I liked having a salary job in maths and physics and computers, but it wasn't fulfilling me enough. And as you noticed, I didn't know what to do. So I quit and I started a business importing foreign sports cars. When that failed, I ran back to another job in math and computers, paid off my debt, got bored, quit, and started another business as a private eye. And then when that failed, I ran back to math and computers, got a high-paying salary job, paid off my debt, got bored and quit, and started a sports car importing company, and then a cosmetics distribution company, and then a small chain of women's weight reducing salons. I kept starting businesses, failing, running back to a salary job to pay off the debt, then getting bored, and going back to launching some business. And what I realized is that it's the business that I liked, not each individual specific business. But I wasn't competent at business, so I kept failing. And then one day when I was 39 years old, somebody said to me, the difference between you and people who are successful is that they've written a book and you haven't.
Oh, wow.
So, what? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't the fact that I'm successful have something to do with me?
Mm-hmm.
They said, look around. Every single successful person has written a book. Every person who struggles has not written a book.
Wow.
So I decided to write a book. I wrote a book on you can make $1 million in Canadian real estate. And suddenly people wanted to take my course. And my courses were overflowing. I kept increasing the tuition and they kept paying it. And they kept buying products from me. They kept asking me to coach them. And I made more money than I could have ever dreamed. And still to this day, I do. So I love business, but I wasn't competent at it. So I kept failing. When I wrote a book, I got so much adulation and credibility and branding that people bought from me easily. And that overcame my inabilities in business. And now I'm a very competent business person.
Wow, that's really amazing. And thank you so much for sharing your heart and your experience and your journey. And there is a question that comes up because clearly I haven't prepared a script. I wanted to make this discussion more of a very organic from what you're giving me and give and take, because I think that I and my audience can benefit from that much more. So the failure, John Maxwell has a book where he says, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn, right? Instead of failure. How do you perceive now, looking back at that experience of failure, and how did you, God bless you, overcame the darkness of it, the doubt, the losses? How did you overcome that and then keep going and not giving up and not going back to a job from 9 to 5 and losing sight of your dream and passion to fulfill your desire in your life?
But I told you that I repeatedly went back to a job.
But you still haven't stayed there. You
Right.
haven't stayed there. That's my point. I know you went back because it was money constraint, but you haven't stayed on a job, and you are still an entrepreneur, investing in different projects and different things. So you're still designing your dream and your life.
So the answer is that during the process, it was darn depressing. I remember getting an investor to put in $50,000 to fund my little company. I started a soft drink manufacturing company to compete with Coca-Cola. And I lost the whole $50,000 within several months. And it was pretty dark. I thought I was going to do a good job. And I had to go back to a job in order to pay off my debt. And then I did get bored. And so I did start another business. And it all seemed very unpleasant and dark and a vicious downward cycle at the time. And it lasted 20 years. It wasn't just a short period of time. But the shocking, and I tried to see the silver lining and I couldn't. But then when I started my professional speaking career and people would ask me to coach them, I had experience in dozens of different industries because I'd failed in so many industries. If I were successful in my very first business, then I would have stayed in that business for 20 years and I wouldn't have had a wide experience. And so it's only afterwards that I can look back and say, thank God I failed in every single one of those businesses so that I have experience in all industries. Typically, when somebody asks me to coach them now, they say the business they're in. I say, oh, yes, I know all about that. And they say, and my wife's in this business. Oh, yes, I know all about that. They say, how? I said, well, I failed in so many of them. That's the deal. That's how I now reimagine the failure.
So the next question there would be then, based on your experience, based on the many businesses you started and you dived into, what would you tell a startup, someone who's willing to start a business, but they don't know exactly what their passion is and where to get started, from your experience, what would that be?
Well, let me answer one of those questions. And that is, if you know the business you want to start, the absolute best advice I can give you is, don't you dare start that business until you've written a book on it. Don't you dare. Because if you start a business doing anything, then you're just one of the masses. You're just in the sea of sameness. There's 1,000 other people in your city who run a similar business. And maybe yours is slightly different, but the prospects can't tell the difference. Maybe it's a big deal to you, but it's not a big deal to them. And so you just have to compete as a nameless nobody with all the other people who are actually more embedded in their business than you are. And so for my coaching clients, I won't let them start a business unless they've already written a book on it. Because once they've written a book on it, they're so distinguished and they're seen as so special that it's easy to get clients, and it's easy to charge a lot of money, and it's easy to get clients to buy your higher priced products. And so I help people write a book, and it's one of my greatest talents is helping people write a book, even if English isn't their first language, and even if they have low self-esteem, and even if they've never written a book before, and even if they have no time, and even if their wife thinks they can't do it. Like, I've heard every excuse there is.
Yeah.
And I've helped thousands of people write books, and they go on to huge success, bigger than they ever dreamed, because they've written a book.
So I hear that people write books, or entrepreneurs write books based on experience, practitioner, the successes they have accomplished. I see that you have a different approach. Write a book and then get into the practitioner or the field in a way. So what would be the format of the book then?
The format? I don't understand.
Yeah, the approach of writing the book before you jump into the business. So if it's a prerequisite for the business, what would be the book about?
Well, you're assuming that if they haven't started the business, they know nothing, and that's not correct.
Okay.
If people want to start a business, they've already thought about it for years. They've already read books on it. They've already talked to people in it. They've already watched YouTube videos on it or something. Sure. So they actually know a fair amount about it. So write a book about it, and you don't have to pretend that you're an expert. Let's say you've just got your realtor license. Then you could write a book called Real Estate for Beginners, in which you admit that you don't know much. But the advantage is that you can talk to new purchasers in their language because you're brand new at it. So you can always spin it positively. Whatever you are, if you want to open up a candy store, you know a lot about candy, a lot more than the average person. So write about what you know. And I help you. Maybe it's daunting to write a book because you don't know where to start. But I've created a set of videos, and you just play video 1, do the homework, play video 2, do the homework. And once you've played video 19, you're holding your book in your hand.
Wow. And how do we get these videos?
Well, if you're interested, uh, my last name is Aaron, Aaron. You can see it on the screen.
Right.
Just send an email to help@aaron.com. Help@aaron.com and say, I'm interested in writing a book, and my staff will take care of you. They'll explain everything to you.
Wonderful. So, Respark Your Life is your podcast. Would love to hear about it.
Okay, good. So, before the lockdown, I stepped on an airplane 1.5 times a week for 37 years.
Okay.
1.5 times a week for 37 years. I knew every airport. I knew where the washrooms were of every airport in the world. I knew where the frequent flyer lounges were in every airport in the world. And I thought that was good. And then when the lockdown happened, I had like withdrawal for about a month. And then I'm so grateful. I never enjoyed my home as much as before. I've never enjoyed the spectacular view that I have. I've never enjoyed my cat and my wife as much. And now I'm never more than 20 feet away from my wife, and I love it.
Mm.
But what I've noticed is that if I give a speech, it's a 90-minute speech. And I might give a speech in Dubai or Perth, Australia, or London, England. And actually, the speech takes 2 or 3 days, including travel, and 3 or 4 days if it's very far away, like Dubai or Perth, Australia, not just to get there and come back, but also to adjust from the huge time zone change and 30 hours in an airplane, such like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I noticed that to give a 90-minute speech, it actually takes me anywhere from 2 to 5 days. But now, because of the lockdown, a 90-minute speech takes me 90 minutes. I could be sitting on the bed with my wife, and it's 2 minutes to some hour. And I say to her, oh, excuse me, I have to give a speech in Perth, Australia. And then I commute to my office, takes several seconds, turn on Zoom, give my speech for 90 minutes, and then commute back a few seconds to the bedroom and chat with my wife again. And suddenly, I found that I wasn't a professional speaker. I was a traveler.
Wow.
99% of my time was traveling.
Okay.
Only 1% of my time was speaking.
Hmm.
And now I have so much free time because I give the same number of speeches, but a speech takes me an hour instead of several days. And so after I got over the shock of not traveling, I noticed I was sitting around with nothing to do. I was starting to watch Netflix videos. I was starting to watch YouTube videos of cats falling off a couch.
Oh my God.
And I'd say, Raymond, what are you doing? I couldn't figure out why I had all this time until I figured out that there was no travel.
Mm.
And so instead of just retiring or doing useless things like watching videos, and don't get me wrong, I love watching movies. So it's not that you should never have any entertainment. It's that the entertainment shouldn't last all day long. So I decided to do something. And one of the things I decided to do, Jack Canfield and I decided to join a network marketing company, and we're both doing incredibly well at it and helping people with health, which is critically important during the lockdown. And the other thing that I decided to do was launch a podcast. And so now my day is filled. I have fun doing podcast episodes, and I have fun enrolling people and training people in my network marketing program. And so my day is full. And I've now got 2 other businesses going in addition to all the others that I had. And I still have lots of time free. Like, Shaba, you asked me just yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago, can I interview? And I said, sure, got all the time in the world. And here we are.
And I really appreciate it, by the way. And I hope that the listeners and the audience will really benefit from your words of wisdom. So again, along the line of what you're talking about, travels, I love traveling, and I'm world travel myself. So I love just wandering in the streets of humanity and cities and just discover and immerse myself in those experiences. What's your favorite place that you have been to, and why?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll list a couple of them.
Okay.
In 1972, I went for a 2-week honeymoon to New Zealand
Wow.
and
Nice.
stayed for a year.
Oh my God.
I love New
Oh
Zealand.
my God.
I love New Zealand so much, we just didn't want to leave. So New Zealand has a very special place in my heart.
Wow.
I also gave a speech in Ljubljana, Slovenia. And Slovenia is like the sweetest country in the world. It's so tiny that everybody knows everybody, and therefore there's almost no litter, there's almost no crime. It's just a wonderful, and some of my dearest friends now are from Slovenia.
Wow.
And another one is Tallinn, Estonia.
Nice.
Tallinn is the capital of Estonia, and Estonia is like a city built by Walt Disney. Every house is painted a different pastel color. Every window has flowers on the windowsill. I felt like I was walking through Disneyland. It was just so pretty. And so I would have to list those 3 places as some of my favorites in the world.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And I love the 1-year honeymoon that you've got. I hope you kept your wife with you the whole time. Back to a question on podcast. As people are striving to go from thriving to, no, from surviving to thriving and really become financially free, we try to advocate for people to become more financially independent and build their own network and net worth. Podcasting involves speaking, right? It's the art of communication or whatever else. What do you say to people who are interested in starting a podcast, but they have fear of speaking? And how do they come to decide on a topic?
Well, those are different questions. So would you decide not to launch a podcast because you were happy? Of course not. Would you decide not to launch a podcast because you were eager? Of course not. Well, eagerness and happiness are emotions. So is fear. So why would you let an emotion get in the way? It's just an emotion. Don't you dare let an emotion get in the way. Don't be a victim of your emotions. If you're happy, you decide to do things, and if you're frightened, you decide not to. Only a victim does that. I've been afraid many times. I do it anyways.
So it's a normal feeling.
To heck with your emotions, just do it. And what do you want to do your podcast about? Do not do your podcast thinking of how you can make money. Do not. Like I help people write books. So I could do a podcast and give very, very clever advice every week, and people would learn a lot from it. But I'm not interested. I already teach how to write a book in my book writing program. And so I wouldn't be turned on doing that. I could make money at it, but I wouldn't be turned on doing it. But what I'm turned on by is re-sparking people's lives, giving people the excitement from my life. And so Re-Spark Your Life is a podcast to ignite the fire to allow you to live life on your own terms. And it has 2 episodes every week. On Monday, I do a 1-hour in-depth interview with a world-famous multimillionaire celebrity, because I know half the famous celebrities in the whole world. So on Monday, you get a 1-hour interview, and you'll learn a lot. But on Thursday is the one that's really close to my heart, and that's the one that is about re-sparking your life. And it's an incident from my life. I actually take an incident in my life in which I failed badly or succeeded badly, and I tell you about it. And most people who know me are excited just to hear a fascinating episode from my life. But in addition to that, I teach how I learned from it and what I was able to do as a result of that success or as a result of that failure. So if you're interested, you can just listen to my podcast. You can go to any of the podcast platforms and just type in Re-Spark Your Life.
Wonderful.
Or you can actually just go to aaron.com/respark. aaron.com/respark, and you'll go right there. And please subscribe, because it's brand new. A couple days ago was 1 month, and I've had 7, that's it, aaron.com/respark.
Wonderful.
I've got 700 downloads. I'm not boasting about it, believe me. That's tiny. That's like really tiny. But after 2 months, it'll be a couple thousand. And after a year, it'll be, 100,000. And after 5 years, it'll be 1 million or 10 million or 500,000 or who knows. But the way you get started is by getting started. And I was afraid because I heard that it was difficult. I heard you had to have music and you had to have special equipment and you have to get a provider who edits your stuff and then puts it on all the platforms. I didn't know how to do that. And a friend of mine said, oh, well, you get out of your head and just start and figure it out. And so I did.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what we're doing too. We're doing podcasts and we're going live and talking to the world, and then the rest, the technicality, maybe a year from now, I'm going to have like a mega giant studio in my background. Right now I'm working from my home office and I'm really happy to do what I'm doing. Yes. Your book writing program, can you talk about that and how can people can connect with you on this? Okay. If interested in writing a book?
So if you want to write a book, just email me, help@aaron.com.
Which I already put here.
Yeah, that's it. help@aaron.com. Okay. And my staff will take great care of you. It's basically 19 videos, and you play the video, do the work, play the video, do the work. And every time I acknowledge someone who's finished their book, I always ask the same question. What was the easiest part of writing the book using my program? And they always give me the same answer. They say, it was a big black hole before I met you. I didn't know what to do, how to start. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what an ISBN number was. I didn't know how to get an editor. I didn't know how to get a formatter. I didn't know how to find a publisher. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to do acknowledgements. I didn't know how many pages the acknowledgement section would be. Like, there was like thousands of blacknesses out there, and they didn't know. They said, when I played your videos, everything cleared up. And I didn't have to do a million things at once. I just had to do the one thing that you taught me how to do in that video. And then when I did that, I played the next video and did the one thing you taught me in that video. And once they played the 19th video, they're holding their book in their hand.
Wow, that's amazing. So you guys heard it. So email Aaron at help@aaron.com if you're interested in writing a book and do the work and commit to your project or idea of writing a book. If you do want to catch Aaron in his podcast, it's aaron.com/respark. Aaron, the last word from you on, well, actually it's Raymond Aaron, so now I'm calling you with your last name. Call for action as a last word.
I want you to think about your deathbed. On your deathbed, what I have read is that people aren't proud of their achievements. On their deathbed, they feel sorrow for their regrets. They feel regretful for what they didn't do. Yes, I'm sure they have some happiness over what they did do. But what I've heard from people who help others die, like nurses, is that people talk about their regrets. So take action now so that you won't have regrets. What is it that you want to do? Do you want to try being a vegetarian? Do you want to try writing a book? Do you want to watch my podcast? Do you want to watch Shaba's podcast? Do you want to start your own podcast? Do you want to run a marathon? Do you want to lose 50 pounds? What do you want to do?
Just do it.
What do you want to do? Yeah. Is there a city or a country that you've always wanted to travel to? You know, it's not that expensive if you set your mind on it. So maybe you have to save for a year. Do it. But don't sit there longing or wishing. Take action. I'll help you write a book if you wish. I can inspire you through my podcast if you wish. Shaba's already inspiring you through her podcast.
Thank you.
So just do those things that scare you, because it's only the things that scare you that are worthwhile.
And amen to that. Amen to
Amen,
that.
sister.
Brother Raymond, amen to that. And thank you so much for coming in. And I know that people will be tuning in a little bit later and probably have more comments. I'm really hoping that people can connect with you, your words of wisdom through your podcast and your book writing program. And I am definitely going to follow up on the book program, the book writing, because I've had actually a couple of books that are kind of sitting ready to get finalized and get out. So I'm super excited about that.
Shaba, I have
So
a gift. I'm so enjoying your program that
thank
I
you
would
so
like to
much.
give every single viewer a gift. Can I do that?
Of course.
If you just go, I'm going to give, I told you I've written 143 books, but my only hardcover bestseller was Double Your Income Doing What You Love. And since we talked about doing what you love on this show, I would like to give it away. So go to my main website, aaron.com, and right there on the home page, you'll see a download, an instant download of my hardcover bestseller, Double Your Income Doing What You Love. There's no charge, there's no cost, there's nothing. It's my gift because you're watching this show.
Oh, thank you so much. I am definitely gonna get the download, and we'll definitely follow up with your team on the book writing program.
Good.
And I will also check your podcast because clearly what you're doing is aligned with who I am and my mission in life. So again, Raymond, Mr. Aaron, thank you so much for your time. God bless you. And I hope our path will cross at some given point, right?
Whenever we're allowed to travel.
As we lift people up and, continue what we're doing is bringing some light and some inspiration to this world because it's really needed. So God bless you. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.